What's good, YouTube? Cardfight King here. Aqua Life Baby. You already know how it is. So, thank you guys for the response to the last history, evolution of Aqua Force video. Today we're going to continue part two. In part one, we discussed the, how we were when we first came out, how our play style was starting to get defined, how we start, once Maelstrom came out, we had the nice Storm Rider plays, and setting up Maelstrom. We were experts in using and being able to use stand triggers, and I felt like at that point in the game we were the best deck to utilize stand triggers, just basically because it really fit our playstyle. But then as we started getting towards, when set 11 came out, the whole set 10, set 11 switch, we got Transcore and the ripples. We started to kind of wane a bit, and as we saw other decks climb, we started to see ourselves, kind of stagnate a bit. And even though the support was decent, so to speak, it really wasn't that great or enough to really carry us over. And then a lot of the times, you would be like, well, what's better, Ripples or Maelstrom? I felt like Maelstrom was just a more consistent deck in terms of its playstyle and what it tries to achieve. But Ripples, if you get the ride chain off, and then if you got the Persona Blast, then you're generally sitting pretty. You were sitting pretty a bit, but Ripples kind of, you had to high roll a little bit sometimes, and even though it was just really awkward between both of them. But Ripples is when we started to see Aqua Force being able to use crit triggers, like other decks. It was a different style, away from Maelstrom and the stand triggers. So there was that. And as you guys know, I never hit the right chain. But where we left off was when, I was talking about Lock and how that changed Aqua Force forever. Or at least until the end of the G series, whatever. But Lock really changed the game and changed Aqua Force in a big way. With set 12, the introduction of Lock and Link Jokers. And as you guys know, I'm a Link, I love Link Joker. They're my second favorite clan next to Aqua Force. I build all renditions of them. I play them. Chaos Break's my first round draft pick. We'll get more into that later, but I love it. And if you guys don't remember, I have a video on my channel going way back to 2014. I got my Link Joker starter decks or trial decks from Ideal. I have like a box opening of that when I got all four of them with Infinite Zero Dragon, really cool. But with the introduction to Lock, it totally shut down Maelstrom's playstyle. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It totally shut down Maelstrom's playstyle. I felt like we could hold. We were decent against some of the reverse decks. Even though I thought Lugia reverse was extremely strong, Amon reverse was a pretty good deck. But against Lock, we just couldn't do anything. As far as Maelstrom goes, which was our more iconic playstyle then. And then you had like the Glory Maelstrom Transcore deck, and that was that was a gimmick deck. It wasn't really working. It was kind of like a one shot here and there, and it was just kind of an deck. It was super vanilla. You only had one play. It wasn't really that great. And then you had the Ripple deck, which was not a bad deck. Ripples which is actually one of my more favorite Aqua Force, archetypes and things to play. But what Ripples did was it introduced us to being able to utilize stand triggers. It took us in a different direction from what Maelstrom's playstyle was and what it was asking for. But Ripples, you had to hit the right chain. We didn't have all the stuff that they had now, like Millie-80s and things like that. But you had to hit the right chain, and you also had to Persona Blast, because you were sitting on Genovias. And, at that time, like I said, there was transition because, like, people were getting 11K Vanguards, cross rides, and, you really didn't want to be stuck on a 10K, Genovias, whatever. But you did what you had to do, so you would generally run Genovias with Transcore and, try and do the break ride, then Persona Blast, and then, kind of go in that way. Or if you ride Genovias, then it's like, well, Transcore transitions to being a rear guard, unless you want to go for a more Desert Prey where you have like too many grade 3s in hand, and you'll just go ride Transcore, then try to survive, break ride, and do that stuff. But not getting into all that. Ripples, I want to say they became the better deck to play during the the set 12 Link Joker set, because Nebula Lord was just so good. Locking was so good. It was so powerful. Nebula Lord created a really nice push lanes. Infinite Zero with some free locks. Even just riding Infinite Zero over Infinite Zero was still pretty good. Being able to do that and get some control up. It was the deck was really solid. I really enjoyed it, and I had a lot of success with the Nebula Lord deck, but I had even more success when Chaos Breaker came out. Like I said, we'll get to that later. But with that, it was like Link Joker and Lock Mechanic. Now, and it didn't just do it to Aquaforce, it did it to other people's decks. Some people who like to play the stand version of the End, they're like, nope, we just got to play Chris, because the End was still a good deck. It was a deck that could kind of do a standalone, and, fight Link Jokers pretty decently. Some people who played Neo Nectar with stands. Not too much back then, but like you get the point. People who did play stand triggers really just transitioned back into or over to crits. And for us playing Aquaforce, Maelstrom they shut down Maelstrom's playstyle. And stand triggers were more or less useless a lot of the time, and a lot of time because this was because we were still playing the Stormrider series. It was nearly impossible to hit the fourth battle consistently against Link Jokers, especially around the time you got to Limit Break. So then you're looking at, playing Ripples, or playing Transcore Glory, because it's like, oh yeah, I'll play Chris with Transcore Glory. It's a super vanilla deck, and it has like one play, but, if it is what it is, but you're still playing Chris, because it's like, you're going to shut down my rear guards anyway, so I have to focus on my center column. Ripples, they did a bit better because at least you had a play where it's like, well, if you didn't lock this card, this column up, or at least I have a front row rear guard available in this column, then at least I could swing with Genova. You'd swing with this card, swing with Genovius, crits and whatever it is, then Persona Blast and resand, something like that. But that's kind of where we're at. And like I said, we were losing our identity. Lock really kind of changed the way we played it. It was just, we were struggling that time. And we struggled until set 13. Now, set 13 was my favorite set of Vanguard. It was also during the time when I was on a roll. In between set 13, the comic booster, and set 14, before I went away to college, right before set 15 came out. I could say I was on a roll, but I'll get to that in a second. But like I said, it was my most favorite time. It was when, just from my memory alone, everybody was playing Vanguard in the area. Locals were packed. We, having 15 players was considered low, a really low number, or 20 players low. We would have on average 20 plus player locals all the time. We had locals throughout the week. We used to travel to different locals up and down Maryland and Virginia. It was great, especially during the summer. It was great. But when set 13 came out, and like I said, and it's a trend you'll notice, like I said last video, it's a trend you'll notice throughout all of it. Whenever support for Aquaforce comes out, support for other clans that have a natural counter or will get support to counter them shortly follows or is released alongside them. So Aquaforce, to me, has really been a clan that's always been kept, in check, so to speak. Set 13 brought Chaos Breaker. Now, Chaos Breakers is it's one of my all-time favorite cards, easily top 3 for me, or top 5, whatever. He's my first round draft pick. I was fiending to build him. We got a pizza kit. I'll never forget that night. We got a pizza kit. I sat in the corner back at our locals, Chibi. My very first pack I opened out of the pizza kit was a Chaos Breaker, and I was stoked. I was like, I got what I wanted. I'm good. Anymore? So I was extremely happy with that. And I played Chaos Breaker religiously. So good, so fun. But someone else came out, and this card became my right and my left. Like, my right hand man, my left hand man. And that was Tetra Drive Dragon and my homeboy, because you know how every, you know, anime person has their avatar be like a grade 2 unit. My avatar, Tidal Assault. When Tidal Assault came out in set 13, I ran him in every rendition of Aqua Force from set 13 pre-release to January 12th, 2019, and will still continue. If you don't know, that's today. That's the day I'm recording. I have never run an Aqua Force deck that did not have Tidal Assault in it from the moment Sneak Peek dropped to now. I would have had to if they didn't come out in with V-Series, but never have I taken him out of my deck. He's my one of my absolute favorite cards. But getting back into it, Tetra Drive and Tidal Assault blew open the doors for Aqua Force to climb back in and be a successful clan once again. It was outstanding. His ability alone, Tetra Drive's ability alone, being able to restand. And it's just, you know, it's just a restand. It's the play style. Now, here, I'll read you his abilities, just so we know. I brought it up on the screen. You counterblast at the end of the battle that's unit attack to Vanguard if the second battle of that turn. So that's battle number 2. Counterblast, your unit gets, your Vanguard gets counterblast 2 and choose Aqua Force and discard it. At the end of the battle, that your rear guard attacked a Vanguard if it was the 4th battle of that turn. You may pay the cost if you do standard. He also had counterblast 1 that unit gets plus 2k, but that ability rarely ever got used, came up. But that limit break ability changed Aqua Force. Transcore finally got a Vanguard that it could run with and, you know, get the most out of its ability. Being able to restand Tetra Drive, so when you broke right over Transcore, Tetra Drive would swing, and then the opponent would either have to discard a card. If they chose not to discard a card, then they would have to eat. They couldn't call any cards to guard with from their hand, and they had to eat Tetra Drive with 10k and an extra crit, and then on the restand they would have to discard a card again or else take another crit. So really put pressure on what the opponent wanted to do, and essentially they were dropping 2 cards in their hand plus whatever they needed to guard Tetra Drive. And we were also running crits, obviously. But then Tidal Assault, I mean, think about it. Tidal Assault and Tetra Drive worked in conjunction with each other, and even against Link Chokers. We still played Basil, and even if the column wasn't going to necessarily hit, so to speak, it was still, we would go Basil, poke, switch with Tidal Assault, and then usually this was against Link Jokers, it was bad column, but against Link Jokers, it was kind of a more optimal column in a way. You know, switch with him, swing at the Vanguard with Tetra Drive. If you hit a trigger, place it on the Tidal Assault. Swing with Tidal Assault at the Vanguard. Restand Tidal Assault, minus 5k. Swing again. Restand Tetra Drive. Swing in. Tidal Assault got us to the 4th battle so much easier. Tidal Assault in a boosted column was outstanding. I mean, Tidal Assault revolutionized. I believe Tidal Assault, as the grade 2 card, revolutionized Aqua Force. You know, better than any other card has. And Tetra Drive Dragon was a perfect complement to that. Combined with Transcore, they had to discard cards, and it gave Aqua Force the ability to compete for multitudes of different formats. And that's what you want when you get support. You want your support to last a multitude of different formats. When new stuff comes out, when old cards get a revamp, whatever, you want your support that you get to last for a while so that you can get the most out of it, so that the most what you're doing, and I'll make a video too, is that you're just learning different matchups and how you're going to play against different matchups. That's what Tetra Drive and Tidal Assault brought to Aqua Force. Stability, the ability to last multitudes of formats, and just a breath of fresh air. So good. My absolute favorite time. And I would play, and my brother learned how to play Link Jokers too. You know, he's the dragon player, Narcomies, Kairos, and whatnot, mostly Narcomies. And when I'd play in tournaments with Tetra Drive, I knew how the matchup against Link Chaos Breaker, mostly because I played Chaos Breaker quite a bit and did it. But I won multiple tournaments with Tetra Drive, as I did with Chaos Breaker. But I was able to compete against everything, and I always felt comfortable. I always felt like I had a chance to win the game at all points. That my strategies that I, took from my experience with Maelstrom, how we changed our playstyle, and what Tetra Drive allowed and Tidal Assault allowed us to do, just took us to new heights. Going into, the comic booster when Novell and Blouse came out, most of the time during locals, it was me versus Black Steve in the finals, Tetra Drive versus Blouse. Now, I did play Novell, and Novell was a super cancerous deck, but I was able to beat Novell in tournaments, multiple times with Tetra Drive Transcore, just learning the matchup, trying to play, and, sometimes, if they played the Dauntless Break Ride version for Novell, it was a bit easier than playing the Cruel Dragon Superior Ride. The Cruel Dragon Superior Ride, I feel like, was the better deck then, but the Dauntless deck wasn't too horrible, but it was a bit slower to get out Novell, because once you got out Novell, it was just straight oppression. But again, Tetra Drive gave us the ability to fight against them. Even if you rode Tetra Drive Dragon first, it was okay, because once you get to 4 damage, it's like, well, well, it's base active, and while he's at Limit Break 4, and when you swing with him, when you swing with him, it's like, okay, Limit Break 4, use his ability, do what I need to do, at the end of battle, or he gains his ability. So it gave us a play, it gave us a Vanguard that could do something, and that's what I've been missing for a long time. Now, going into set 14, we saw Ashley Reverse and things like that. We were still a pretty relevant deck. Aqua Force was still a good deck. Chaos Breaker was still probably, I want to say, around number 1. But then they started coming out with cards like Ezel and things like that, things that allowed other people to break out of lock, because they're making decks and cards that would break them out of lock here and there to counter Link Joker. But nothing was out that was kind of countering Aqua Force other than Link Joker, which was more or less a natural counter. And I think Tetra Drive Transcore was still just a really solid deck. Towards the end of the Break Right era, set 15. And like I said, again, common theme. When something comes out for us, something comes out to check us. We got Maelstrom Reverse. Now, Maelstrom Reverse, granted, was a pretty fun deck to play as well. A more consistent cross-ride deck, here and there. It was pretty decent. But also, Chaos Breaker was still floating around. Glendios came out. And the Maelstrom deck, like I said before, Maelstrom was starting to become more of not a novelty item, but nostalgic. Maelstrom was mostly just becoming nostalgic. The deck was okay. The deck still played better with stand triggers, but Tetra Drive was still just a superior deck. It just worked, especially with the way the format was going. If you wanted to fighting against Glendios, fighting against Chaos Breaker, Tetra Drive and his style of play, that deck, like I said, revolutionized Aqua Force, and that's how, we were going to be playing for a long time, for a multitude of formats. we did have Maelstrom Reverse, but it's like you use Maelstrom's ability. It's like, well, you're gonna make Chaos Breaker's ability go off. You're gonna set yourself up for failure against Glindios. I mean, the deck was decent. His effect was, Maelstrom Reverse's effect was pretty good. But it really wasn't enough to say, hey, here's another Aquaforce deck that we could that we could bring into the game and we can compete with it and take it to higher levels. It wasn't a bad deck, but Maelstrom Reverse at the same time, and Maelstrom Reverse was a good card, but at the same time, Maelstrom Reverse wasn't exactly what Tetra did. And I didn't have too much time to play with it because I was away at college, but I did a ton of research. When I did come and play with it, I analyzed it heavily. I play tested with it heavily. Played in a few tournaments with it. It just wasn't it just didn't bring the same things Tetra Drive brought to the table in terms of play style, being able to close out games, being able to sustain itself during games and things like that. It just wasn't the same as what Tetra Drive brought. And that was our last support until Legion Era, which will be episode 3. Legion Era was interesting. Actually, not interesting. I hated Aquaforce. I think Legion was probably, if not the best, one of the best formats in Vanguard. It was too short, and Aquaforce got disrespected beyond reasonable doubt. I mean, I have never seen such disrespect towards a clan that even the anime itself claimed was one of the legendary clans. What they did to Aquaforce for Legion was blasphemous. And I wasn't going to stand for it. And I think I made a rage video about it. Not sure, but I probably did. Maybe I was raging during the deck profile, but still, it was a bad time. And that's what we're going to talk about in episode 3. So, thank you guys again. Hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely like, comment, and subscribe. I will definitely be bringing out some more content. Probably tomorrow or Monday. We'll probably stream some area. I definitely do want to get my Maelstrom deck profile out to you guys before February 5th, when they start announcing the next schedule and whatnot for things. I am going to be building Link Jokers. The deleters and whatnot is coming out for Link Jokers. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And yeah, you already know what it is. Aqua Life Baby, we out.